Today's episode of Still Untitled, The Adam Savage Project is brought to you by Casper. Casper makes obsessively engineered American-made mattresses that you get in the mail. It comes in a little box. It's a cardboard box. It fits through any door. You open it up. Inside, there's an envelope that tells you what to do next and a box cutter that lets you open the mattress without risking tearing it or anything like that. And what happens then is it just kind of unfolds. It inflates. It's ready to sleep on in about 5 minutes. Using a combination of memory foam and latex foam, it gives you just the kind of right amount of sink, right amount of bounce. It's very comfortable no matter what you do in the bedroom. And on top of everything else, they're a phenomenal deal. They're about $500 for a twin, not up to $950 for a queen. If you go to your local mattress showroom, you're going to see a completely different price structure that does not cap out at under $1,000. And if you want to show your support for Still Untitled, you can go to casper.com/untitled. Again, that's casper.com/untitled. Use the offer code untitled. Tell Casper that you like the ad on the show, you like this podcast. They'll know that you like us. It works out well for everyone, and you'll get a better night's sleep. Again, casper.com/untitled and offer code untitled. Thanks for supporting Still Untitled, Casper. And now, on with the show. Welcome to Still Untitled, The Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
I have to admit, I'm a little foggy these days.
Yeah.
I have been beset or plagued, as one might say, by tooth problems.
Oh, your tooth.
Since mid-April.
And that's the tooth.
And we are in the first week of June right now when we're recording this. So I have been in varying degrees of pain since mid-April.
That's not good.
I had an infected wisdom tooth. I had my wisdom tooth removed, two of my wisdom teeth removed, 1 in 32. And then I also had implants put in. Look, all of this is my fault because I didn't brush my teeth enough. Back when I was a kid and a young adult, I was terrible about brushing my teeth, and I am now suffering. Look, I have suffered.
The fog is
the fog is because I'm on my fourth round and third type of antibiotics over the last 2 months. I'm now on Cipro, and I cannot stand the way it makes my brain feel. It feels like I'm inside a helmet.
Wow.
Not a fun helmet.
Not
either.
a fun helmet. No, a helmet that makes my neck hurt. It's just terrible. So I'm a little foggy.
Something else that numbs numb your brain? Watching Jupiter Ascending.
Wow, that was the worst one ever.
That was good.
Terrible.
Jupiter Ascending.
This is not a spoiler cast.
This is not a spoiler cast. What a mess!
We just wanted to talk about it briefly before we got to the real topic.
Here's the thing. I love it.
You do.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it immensely.
It's not a good movie. I'm going to get that out front.
It's visually lovely.
It is, but like Speed Racer is visually lovely and a good movie, right? I love Speed Racer. It has some problems. It's weird that they cast a bunch of white people in that movie, but whatever.
And they're both Wachowski movies.
Yeah, there's a common thread here.
Yep.
Cloud Atlas, a lovely film. Not a great film, but it's good. This is a hot mess, but I absolutely love it. It is.
I paid.
I watched it all the way through.
I bought it on the Blu-ray. I bought it on Blu-ray.
Watched it in theaters in the expensive big size format.
Were you angry?
No.
Oh, you enjoyed it?
I too enjoyed the experience, the filmmaking experience.
I did too. I thought filmmaking-wise, it was absolutely gorgeous. Plot-wise, it felt like a total hot mess. I think that's a perfect descriptor.
It's a Matrix do-over.
Look, sort of.
There's a secret world. We're not going to spoil, but there's secret worlds, and the whole first act is building to this big reveal, and then the big reveal comes. You're like, wait, what? And then it gets real weird from there, and
it's very weird. And some of
it's very reminiscent of Dune.
Like, I had some significant problems with some of the biggest pieces, like the way our hero moves around.
Meaning
Channing Tatum?
Yeah,
Okay.
the way Channing Tatum moves around with his.
Oh, he's rocking.
There's a floaty skates.
Wait, yeah. What?
So
Hold on.
Something just happened.
Everything's going to shit today. Is this
I had a large problem with the central piece of this movie, which is how Channing Tatum, our hero, moves through the world with his special way of moving.
the floaty rollerblades.
You could have just stopped with Channing Tatum.
No, I love Channing Tatum.
I do too, usually.
I think he's terrific. I didn't even think he was bad in this movie, and I love Mila Kunis. I think she's a terrific actress.
Always good.
And lovely, lovely person.
Just not a role that needed her talents or made use of them.
Yeah, it was.
from my perspective, it felt like that the Wachowskis were the studio, because the last movie they made, Cloud Atlas, independent film, very expensive, not a commercial success. This one, maybe they got the funding because they sold it as like a YA. Here's your Hunger Games style, girl's gonna save the world, at least the universe.
Yes.
And this one's the galaxy.
Space opera.
Space opera, yeah. And-
with the love story, and that was the stuff that felt unnecessary.
But to be
and poorly written.
There was a thing on Reddit, I think. It was on Reddit.
IO9 did a story about
IO9, right? Which is, you may not like this movie, but you should support it because it's not a franchise. It's not based on existing material. It's not a remake, and we need to support people as wonderful and brilliant as the Wachowskis doing original material like this, because some of it's going to be terrible, some of it's going to be okay, and some of it's going to blow your freaking
That's
mind.
kind of where I end up with the Wachowskis, just in general. Like I go to see a lot of their movies in theaters, and I probably own the entire run on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Because like at the very minimum, you can assume that they're going to be visually arresting.
Yeah. And
Indeed.
three things visually saved this movie for me. One, there was a very nice Brazil homage in what, I'm not going to spoil exactly the sequence, but there is a sequence.
And in the text.
Beautiful. It's just fun.
Yeah.
There's two, the end of the first act, the scene where they're leaving Earth, that whole action sequence, the way they shot that with helicopters only in the minutes of dawn every day for months, 3 months.
Wow, really?
Just to shoot that sequence, because it's dawn, like the sun's coming up.
Wow.
Technically incredible. They built a new camera system mounted on a gimbal on a helicopter
Oh, I
just
didn't
to
know
shoot
this.
that.
Wow.
So it's it's a combination of green screen, but the real, like, instead of real buildings.
Right.
And three, that spaceship that they had at the kind of like it's the B characters, but it's like their Star Trek, where it had the female captain and the Ganesh, like the crew members,
Right, right.
Like, they're cruising through the universe. It's still really good world building there.
Beautiful world building. I give it that the script was bizarre and weird, but the world building was amazing.
I watched the movie and I felt at the end of it, I was like, man, I feel like if there were a couple more establishing shots for that whole B story, the whole what's happening in space story, it could have made the reason I compare it to The Matrix is because for the first hour you're kind of going, okay, there's a story about this woman that's cleaning toilets, and then because it kept cutting back and forth between these two places.
Totally.
You're like, what the hell's going on? I don't know. I thought it was I was not disappointed that I watched it, and I thought it was quite fun, even though it was incomprehensible. I'll probably watch it again.
All right.
Yeah.
I should watch it again. I don't have a segue, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this week about a rekindling of an old love for me.
Was this the thing that ended up with me laying on the ground in the mission last week?
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed. I years ago was the subject of a Department of Defense briefing about security and location tracking in the new smartphones.
Okay.
This was
Was this prior to the iPhone?
This was with the advance of the first iPhone.
Okay.
I took a picture of a car that I owned, my Land Cruiser BJ42 1982 diesel right-hand drive Land Cruiser, in front of my house in San Francisco, and I had location tracking on, and someone used that to figure out the GPS coordinates of my house, and to confirm that, they went by my house and took a picture of the car. And the DOD built a briefing based on this occurrence saying, you got to be careful with smartphones because the pictures are carrying data you don't know about. This is early days. Now that's standard. Everyone knows to turn it on if you want and turn it off if you want. But the salient point is that back in 2008, I bought a Land Cruiser. I had it restored, except for the engine. I had the body restored, and I drove it around a bunch, and I really enjoyed it. Then I moved here into the Mission, where parking was much more at a premium, and I had it stored for a while. And I pulled it out of storage a couple months ago. I had it mechanically fixed back up again with the idea that I was going to sell it because
You have said multiple times, hey, it doesn't make sense for me to have this car. I'm never going to drive it. It's not a good San Francisco car. Can't take it on the freeway, yada, yada.
yada, yada, yada. And I thought, I'll sell it. It's worth a bunch. I could, the dough would be great. I started driving it around and fell totally back in love.
I've never driven a right-hand car in a left-hand car country.
Yes.
But you've driven you've driven a right-hand car in a right-hand car
I've
country.
driven right-handed automatic cars in right-hand car countries before.
So this is a right-hand drive standard.
So you're shifting with the wrong hand.
You're shifting with the left hand.
Is it still first on the left? Are the gears still in the same spot?
The gear mapping is the same.
So it's not just like the whole thing's mirror image.
No, the first is upper left and reverse is lower right.
Okay.
I will say to get to drive it took me 2 days just to feel pretty much comfortable with it. Having not driven it in 5 years, I got in it 3 weeks ago, and it was absolutely. I was right back in it.
It's like you're a mailman.
No problem. Yes. The hardest part about driving a right-hand drive car on the right-hand side of the road is looking for the rearview mirror. I keep looking to my upper right for it.
Oh, I would think left. Is it left turns? Probably changing lanes on the interstate, on the freeway,
In
are
San
challenging.
Francisco,
It's not that hard.
one-way streets. And
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I found that I really like about it that's different than 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, I don't know. Basically, what I've been falling back in love with is how analog it is to drive this car. You know, I love my Fiat, and it's a standard too. But you know, modern cars, they're super quiet, they're super comfy. I've got seat heaters, everything's great. My stereo is lovely. I drive to work, but the car is insulating you from the experience of the fact that you're hurtling around the world at 70 miles an hour. This car does not. This car takes all your attention to drive. Is
it? I assume the wheels steering's nice and loose, and you're kind of
steering is
bouncing all over.
So the BJ42, the 82 version, was actually built with power steering.
Wow.
Yeah. But you can hear it splashing around. Like you turn to the right, and it's like you can hear someone go, you know, to move that.
The little elves are working real hard up there.
It's very splashy steering. You're poised really high up. I have a tasteful 2-inch lift on the car, so it rides kind of bouncy. It's an off-road vehicle.
It's good given our pothole situation in San Francisco.
It's a diesel with 2 tanks, 2 batteries. This is a real zombie prepper survival tool.
Yeah.
And I've fallen back in love with it. I've been making more mods on it, and I want to do a piece on it. Do a walkthrough because it's a lovely car.
I love that you have both a bumper jack and a winch on the front, and then you have a couple of jerry cans, I think, padlocked on the back.
I have a jerry can on the back.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful powder-coated rack on the top. I've got some wonderful modifications inside. I have some secret modifications, which I'd rather no one know about.
Okay.
And it's just I drove this car up to Gold Country for a Mythbusters shoot last week, and we're out where, you know, really you could use off-road if you need it. And it feels like you're home when you're driving a car like this. The BJ42 diesel 3B engine is an absolutely legendary engine for when you chuck it into four-wheel drive in the low gear. This thing will climb a nearly vertical wall in the mud. Wow. It is an amazing, amazing engine.
So I learned to drive on, I guess, an older version of that car that my aunt, who was a nature cinematographer, had. I learned to drive manual transmission on that.
Oh, wow.
And my grandparents' farm up in Northern Virginia when I was a kid. It's left-hand drive, like the same person would have. But when you put that thing into the low gear, it would drive. You could take a fallen tree trunk that was, 24 inches diameter, and it would just drive right over it if it had clearance to get over.
Exactly.
You could go right up on it, no problem. It was amazing.
I took my boys camping down in a place called the Toomey Hills a few years ago, which is BLM land, which means where we camped, there were shell casings everywhere.
Bureau of Land Management.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we took some fairly hairy fire roads to get to the campsite, only to fall asleep that night and wake up in the rain to discover we had to leave on these roads now muddy. So I put it in the lowest gear for the whole drive out and took some air out of the tires to get more traction. And there was no problem at all. There was one point at which I was looking at this steep incline with water running down it, and this car just right up it.
It's like Jurassic Park.
Yes.
At my grandmother's house, there was a creek, and it was all clay banks because it's Northern Virginia. And the ford for the creek, they eventually built a bridge, but whenever we had the Land Cruiser out, it was always use the ford because it was the only they had tractors because it's a farm. Everybody had to be pulled out of that thing. All the Jeeps, all the other cars had to be pulled out by a tractor at some point, except for the Land Cruiser, because you always just chunk it down and, you pull out of anything.
It is one of the most beautiful designs of a all-wheel drive vehicle that I can think of. I love the Land Cruiser, specifically the short wheelbase with the curved back windows. Mm-hmm. This is the FJ design. I believe BJ of BJ42 stands for British Jeep. actually.
Okay.
And it's Toyota's version of the military Jeep. So just like a Jeep, you can actually take off the doors and the rear window panels and the roof, and you can put soft top on it. It has a roll bar, so it's very configurable. In order to make this thing a daily driver, added a ton of sound dampening. I did my own carpeting in the interior, and it's very quiet and very a reasonably comfortable ride for one that you can still take in the extreme conditions that it's built for.
It's super fun cars. Is it 4-speed or 5-speed?
A 5-speed.
5-speed. Oh, nice.
One of the big differences I did last week was I had put in a Garmin-based GPS fold-out screen stereo, which is
a little outdated now, probably.
way outdated considering I now have a phone.
Yeah.
So I replaced that with Wirecutter's recommendation for the best Bluetooth head unit.
Okay.
And it works magnificently. It pairs with my phone as I get in and plays from the beginning whatever the last song I was listening to.
Just make sure you download your maps to your phone before you go out in the deep country.
Yes, I will. I do plan to take it camping this summer with the boys, thing 1 and thing 2. There's no way I'm selling it. So if you're thinking about asking, don't, because there's no way I'm selling this thing.
So what condition was it in when you took it out of storage, and how much work needed to be actually done on it?
When I took it out of storage, some, how do you refer to them, assholes had yanked my hood ornament off, denting my hood.
What?
They had stripped off the high lift jack on the front. It had been somewhat vandalized. It was parked across the street from the armory here in that parking lot, out in the open. So it needed a bunch of mechanical work in order to get it back up to snuff. No.
Oh, wow.
The paint, yeah.
That's really nice.
Right.
Well, because when I bought it in '08, I had it restored from the studs out.
Got it.
So the body is just perfect.
It's the same one from The Gods Might Be Crazy, right? The Gods May Be Crazy.
I can't quite picture that one, but I'll take your word for it.
Reasonably sure.
That might be an FJ40.
I think it's the short wheelbase.
Well,
one.
the FJ and the BJ are hard to determine. You have to know your Land Cruisers to tell the difference between them.
Well, we'll definitely do a piece on it.
We definitely will do a walkthrough.
When you're doing work on it, I mean, it's fun to work on an old, fully mechanical car. There's carburetors. There's no electronics in that thing. You just hit the batteries and turn it on.
Well, it is a diesel, so yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to work on it. The 2 batteries are great because, like, the other day we were out here and I got out and I'd left my headlights on, so the battery was dead. Switched to the other battery, started right up.
When will it charge the other one off the alternator while you're doing that?
Yes, it charges both, and it's got 2 tanks that hold, I think, 13 and 10 gallons, so you can head quite a distance on the. Like I said, it's a zombie prepper vehicle.
It's quite the car, yeah. I guess it's as good a place as any to wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you all next week. As always, like us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Write reviews on iTunes. We have the membership promo running still.
Yes. Right.
We've talked about it a lot the last few weeks. We'll just do the high points. Adam, you made an amazing poster again.
Of my toolboxes from when I was a model maker during the ILM days in the late 90s, early aughts.
If you want to find out about that, you can go to tested.com/membership for the details. By now, we may even have a way for existing members to tack on another year to their membership so they can get the poster. But if we don't,
happen.
We'll have that. That'll happen soon. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of like getting all the dev resources in the right places at the right time. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Norm, do you like filling out surveys? Oh, you do? It's great that we have great advertisers on Still Untitled and they support the show and keep it free for everybody listening. But one of the reasons that they love Still Untitled is that they know the show has amazing listeners. Right, Norm? Right now, we have a survey that I'd love for you to take to help us learn more about you guys, our audience. You can go to podsurvey.com/untitled. The survey will take about 5 minutes. We're going to ask you some questions about yourself, things you like to buy, things you like, things you're interested in. It's completely anonymous unless you choose to give us your email address at the end, which we will only use to notify you if you win a $100 Amazon gift card that is drawn monthly. That's it. That's all there is. If you've taken the survey before, we'd love for you to take it again for us. It helps us support the show, and you get the chance to win the $100 gift card. That's podsurvey.com/untitled. podsurvey.com/untitled. Thanks for helping us find the best advertiser for the show so we can keep it free.